everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and happy Sunday, October 9th of 2022. It's a beautiful day here in Utah. I'm going to get out and take a drive up into the mountains because I'm still not able to hike yet with my brand new knee. I've been working very, very hard on rehab, and it is going beautifully, but I will be honest, one of the hardest things I've ever done. About every other day is a pretty hard day. And to be honest, it's a little bit harder than I thought. But I'm up for the challenge. I know that coming out the other end, it's going to be amazing. And today I plan on taking my car and making a beautiful drive up the canyon and looking at the fall colors, getting out, walking around a little bit. Whereas typically what I would be doing today is putting on my hiking shoes. The weather is perfection, and I would be getting up in the mountains with my feet and my knees and my body and just getting up in Mother Nature. So I hope if you are able to do that, you take full advantage of the ability to move around and walk around and, go on short hikes, go on big hikes, get out in Mother Nature. I think there's little things that we take for granted that we need to be in more full appreciation of. And what I think happens as humans is we don't typically appreciate it until we lose it, or maybe we lose it temporarily, which is, my case. I know that this is something that I needed to do so that I can have super longevity all through my 60s, all through my 70s, all through my 80s, doing things that I love out in Mother Nature. So I hope that you realize the blessings that you have, even just the fact that you can move your physical body and get out and get in nature and go walking. So I had some really cool thoughts this week. One was a little quote that I ran across from Mr. Rogers, who's no longer alive, but he says this. He said, our society is much more interested in information over wonder and noise rather than silence. How do we encourage reflection? And then he says, oh my, this is a noisy world. And if he could really see it now, where it feels so much more noisy because we have so much access to information, I think he would probably be like, whoa, this is even more than I expected. But here's the thing. Let's put wonder over information. And I've talked about this before many, many times about taking the time to sit and daydream and look at the clouds, look at the leaves, especially now. If you live in a place where the leaves are changing colors, this is one of the most spectacular times. I know so many people who love the fall because the weather cools down, and the leaves are changing, and sometimes after a nice hot summer, it feels good to put a light jacket on, and it's just one of those pleasurable times. And if we can realize that this is an important time to be alive and disconnect from the information that's constantly coming at us 24/7, and be in more in a state of wonder at the simple things, and realize that reflection and silence is so much better for some of the time in our life. I'm not saying always. One of the things that, my husband is getting ready to go to a Formula One race in Texas at the end of this month. It's been something he's wanted to do for a long time. He's got a group of friends he's going with. And to me, that sounds horrible. Just because it's noisy, I guess ultimately noisy, and it's just not something I'm interested in. But the thing is, there is a place for noise and information, and there's a time and a place for all of that. But I think that we've lost touch of the idea that there's also a time and a place for quietness, reflection, and silence. In fact, it's critical to our homeostasis, the balance of our body. It's so critical. Now, this goes along with the second thought I have in this little two-part video today. And this is really interesting, and I think I'm going to title the video after this. This is an interesting thing, and I know that this is in things like Buddhism, Taoism, Stoicism, where what all those things have really figured out is that pleasure is not happiness. In fact, on a neurobiological level, pleasure is really just a dopamine hit. And dopamine is one of those chemicals that simply wants more. It's just more, more, more. And so you get that maybe temporary, quick hit of dopamine, but it's never, that's not really pleasure. So some of the things that I wrote down here is uh, dopamine is the primary drug behind all addictions. So think about that. You get something that's temporary. Um, Scrolling social media, total addiction. Video games, addiction. Alcohol every night, addiction. Sugar, an addiction. It gives you a quick dopamine hit. Um, Whatever it is that you're doing, watching hours and hours and hours of Netflix or any type of anything on TV. All of that it's all a dopamine hit. And I will tell you, I do think there might be some good types of dopamine, especially if it comes from things like exercise and meditation. I know that when I do meditation, and especially when I do exercise and I get out in Mother Nature, it's a different type of a dopamine hit. And maybe it's not even that, but that is, to me, that's what makes us feel human and alive when we can release the need for thinking that pleasure is happiness. A dopamine hit that you have to get all the time, constantly, all day long, that's not happiness. It's just not happiness. So from a neurobiological perspective, seeking pleasure, it ends up not being about the pleasure itself, but more about alleviating the suffering and pain that exists when pleasure is absent. So this is where the growth and reflection needs to come in, because sometimes we need to really sit with ourselves. And my favorite way to do that is with my journal, because it feels like a friend at this point, and I don't have anything that's giving me stimulation as far as that temporary dopamine. So what we're really trying to do by bringing quote, quote, pleasure into our life is we're trying to alleviate suffering. Um, and if we watch something that reconfirms our beliefs down a rabbit hole that we've been in, that confirms it, and it temporarily relieves a perceived suffering, or maybe it's not even perceived. I've had my own share of the suffering that happens when we're constantly seeking pleasure. And at the other end of the spectrum, it does take some hard work to get out the other side where you go, okay, I feel centered and calm and so alive when I've disconnected from the noise, all of the craziness, and I can just be in Mother Nature. I can simply be by myself. And sometimes it might even be being with other people without all the distractions, like the distractions of technology and the distractions of addictive behavior like too much alcohol. We've all, I mean, I know there are people who haven't been there, but I would say the majority of people have been in positions where they drink too much, they eat too much, the sugar addiction, the addiction. You could even have an addiction to exercise. As a person who, I used to own my own gym. I was a personal trainer for 20 years before I do what I do now. And I saw quite a few people who were at the gym multiple times during the day, some even if it's twice a day. There was a girl who used to come in when I was managing a gym. She would come in every morning before work for 2 hours. She would work out. And then after work, that was her place, was the gym. And she would be there sometimes until the gym closed down. And she was working out, she was exercising, she was swimming, she was sitting in the sauna. And I think that there's just this piece that we're trying to ease this human suffering that we all go through by seeking things that numb that out, and with these addictive behaviors. And I know it's easier said than done to disconnect from these things, and even maybe to recognize that some of these things are addictive behaviors where they're just seeking pleasure as a dopamine rather than where does real happiness come from? So what we need to do is this. We need to retrain our brain and retrain ourselves to find joy with a challenge and find happiness within the process. And the process is the process of being alive. That's the process. And I, I think that what I've noticed as a collective, that we are definitely starting to realize some of these really big truths. The programs that we've been deeply conditioned to just accept as normal, we're starting to realize that those, it's easier to keep humanity in slavery, if you will, in debt and in addictions and in consumption. Those three things, even the consumption, I have really turned myself into this huge minimalist. In fact, I was getting ready to do this video and I thought, um, I should maybe do something different and, put on something a little fancier. But I'm like, no, this is me. And I've had this shirt for probably 10 years. And to me, and that really doesn't mean anything. It's the less things that I have in my life, and the more experiences uh, that I am able to bring into my life, that is where the pure happiness comes in. And just a process of being a living, breathing human being. I think we need to slow down. We need to slow down and realize that we have a life full of blessings. We have this beautiful opportunity to live and just be brilliant while we're here. And some of us don't ever feel good enough. We're always trying to, have the newest things and keep up with other people, and we care what other people think about us. Once you can start releasing all those things, you realize first a couple things. Most people they're not really paying attention to you. And if they are paying attention to you and if they have either something negative to say or they really like the way you're dressing and like the things that you have or whatever, you get really to a point where, okay, that might be nice, especially if they're liking things. But it really doesn't matter in the whole scheme of things. What matters is what's deep in here, what's deep inside your soul. In fact, yesterday I met with this. There's a beautiful friend here. Her name is Christy. She found me probably 15, 16 years ago. I was giving a little herbal lecture here at a house. A woman found me. I can't remember how she found me, but she asked me if I'd come and give a little herbal lecture to her neighborhood and her group. And so this was a long time ago. I went there and it was lovely. It was a lovely connection, like-minded people. These people gave up their evening to come, and that if people are willing to break outside of their comfort zone when they get home, when they're home from work, or how we settle in the evening, for the most part, most of us, and to haul ourselves out, especially if there's like an inkling of something that might interest you, it shows some dedication in the learning process and opening yourself up for things that might serve you. Anyway, so after I gave this lecture, there was a beautiful person named Christy who ended up becoming a very good customer, but a very good friend along the way. And she reached out to me this week. She wanted to come and get a couple things. And she told me that she'd been kind of suffering from long haul symptoms. And I'm like, why didn't you reach out sooner? I've got this brand new formula that I developed last year that's been in the testing phase for exactly this. And as I'm doing this video right now, this is actually a new formula that is in manufacturing right now. But I had some of this homemade testing batch. And I said, come over to my house and I'll get you some. So she stopped by yesterday, and I will tell you, she is the most beautiful, centered soul who's found happiness. And Christy, you're watching this. I know sometimes you watch these videos. One of the things that I love about Christy is she stands up for what she believes in. She doesn't let anyone sway her away from the things that she knows are true for her in her soul. She has this beautiful, grateful spirit. 72 years old, healthy, fit, 22 grandkids. I'm a tiny bit jealous of that because I just have the two. But I will tell you, it's when you're in her presence and when you are in the presence of someone like that who simply lives life to the fullest and has gratitude and grace, for not just herself, everything that she's done, where she's been, but also for other people. And there's simply no judgment. I think that that's probably a nice place to end it. I think that if we can learn to sit in stillness and be in wonder, rather than just a constant dopamine hit of information coming at us, and if we can realize that seeking pleasure is not the same thing as seeking happiness, because when we're constantly seeking pleasure, that's just trying to alleviate suffering, and it's so temporary. So I hope that you have a couple of nuggets from this. This to me feels super important, and it feels super relevant as we go in, to the last quarter of this year. I think we've got a lot of beautiful challenges that are still ahead of us as humanity, but to me, what these challenges bring, especially if you are awake and you are aware and you are prepared, these challenges bring huge opportunities for things that will help with growth and spirituality, and even the ability to create abundance like we've never seen before. But you have to be aware and prepared and working on yourself and working on that internal peace, so that when things get maybe even a little bit worse before they get better, not only are you not shocked, but you're prepared, and you know how to go through this with calmness and stillness, and you know what to opt out of. Opt out of the fear, opt out of the depression, and out of the overwhelming thought of this life sucks because look how bad things are. So let's opt out of that. Let's make the choice right now together as a collective. Whoever's watching this, if this resonates with you, let's make that decision right now. So I do hope for you a beautiful day. I hope that you get out. If you're a hiker, go out and hike for me today. This is something that, I honestly cannot wait to do. In fact, one of the things, and I think I mentioned this in a couple other videos, but one of the things that I did right before I had my knee done, it'll be 7 weeks tomorrow, is I reached out to my brother who lives in Arizona, and he does the Rim to Rim Grand Canyon. In fact, he's just finished it today. He started yesterday, he finished today. He does this on a regular basis. And I said, hey, I want to do this with you. So I'm putting that on the calendar. We're going to do it next June. And it gives me, as I've gone through some of this hard rehab, a little harder than I thought kind of rehab, it gives me this motivation and inspiration, and the realization that sometimes you have to get through the hard stuff to get to the good stuff. And that's how it's always been. It makes us stronger. It makes us more resilient. And these are the kind of traits that we all want. And we all want to realize that we are the ones that are in control of our future, and the fact that we're alive and we get to control it. There are things beyond our control. I won't deny that, but we have so many things that we can control. And I think if we can disconnect and get rid of that constant dopamine hit that you think you need, and it'll be painful at first because it's so like reach for it. But I would suggest that you start working toward that. Keep track of it. Get a journal. Anyway, I love you guys. I love having the opportunity to jump on and bring some thoughts to you every Sunday. I truly appreciate your feedback and your comments, and it's kind of been a fun little commitment to myself that I made. I can't remember if it was the first of this year or it was the end of last year, very last week or so. I was like, I'm going to put out a Sunday message every single Sunday. And it's a little commitment that sometimes I'm kind of like, okay, I got to prepare ahead because I might not have time. But anyway, I hope you guys have a beautiful Sunday. I hope you have a beautiful week ahead. Stay brilliant, stay awake, aware, and prepared. To me, that's the way to walk through this and be an inspiration to others and live your best life. So I hope you guys, again, like I said, have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.